Welcome to Take It from the Iron Woman. My name is Susanne Müller, your host and the Iron Woman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Iron Woman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. This podcast is being sponsored by Get Loopy. On episode 41, you can hear the story of Isabel, the co-founder and CEO. Get Loopy, get a 20% discount off your first order. GetLoopy.com. Take it from the Iron Woman. Again, we only have very special guests, and today we have Luke in Australia with us. He's probably the third or fourth person in Australia, and it seems like the people in Australia have a lot with us in common with sports, being outdoors, and he's actually the Chief Marketing Officer of 2XU, but I learned we have to say 2XU. So welcome, Luke. Introduce yourself a little bit. Who's Luke who's going to join us today?
Thank you, Susan. Pleasure to be here this morning. As you heard, my name's Luke. I'm the CMO at 2XU, born and bred in Tasmania, a small island south of Australia. It is part of Australia, contrary to many people's beliefs, but it is part of Australia, not New Zealand. Grew up playing sport, been active through sport. My professional career has been surrounded by sport, luckily enough. And I think I participated in a lot of team sports when I grew up, cricket and soccer in Australia during the summer and winter, and then progressed to more, I guess, what you call your individual or solo sports in running, cycling and triathlon. And the better part of the last 10 years have been a cyclist / triathlete, and really love the sport, love being active, love being the community that's involved in each three of those. And as I said, lucky enough, I get to work in an industry where you get to combine your professional and personal hobbies, which is great.
I think this is of many of the listeners the dream, right?
Yeah.
How can you combine your hobby like the triathlon or the cricket or the soccer into a career? How did that work for you? I'm curious.
It's I think everyone, grows up. I'm not sure about any other country, but in Australia, you always dream of being a professional sports person. And I think that's, you either want to play AFL or rugby league during the winter or cricket for Australia. That's the traditional route of combining your love of sports to a professional element. As we know, it's pretty hard to make it in the professional sporting arena, and it's pretty cutthroat. It's a very short career span, but those people that do make it dedicate their lives to it, and that's great. I think as I said, the way I fell into it was luckily enough, I got an opportunity to join a sports brand very early on in my professional career, and with Asics, I worked with them within the sports marketing and product management standpoint. And it's not by plan, it was just a job that came up, and I think my education and my sporting background probably gave me a little bit of an edge when it came to getting that role. From there, I just realized that, I needed to be around sport, because that was the thing that really kept me engaged professionally. It allowed me to, as you said, combine those personal hobbies or little adventures or events and really kept me engaged professionally, but also knowing the fact that sport can have such a positive impact on your life, and seeing this very early on around the community, I made it a pretty concerted focus to always be involved in sports. Lucky enough, as I said, I fell into it with a major sports brand, and the rest has gone from there. I've worked for an outdoor brand which focused on adventure racing and trail running and hiking, and then worked for a sports media brand. So I got to see the other side of it from a sports rights negotiation and fanatics and the way that sports media is portrayed. And then worked for a cycling brand for 4 years, looking after their sort of operations in Asia Pacific. And lucky enough, I got exposed to with them the power of community. I mean, the power of developing a brand around community and what that can mean for not only a business performance, but also people, and seeing that positive impact firsthand. I think you read a lot about it and a lot of it's cliche, but seeing it firsthand, people go from a beginner cyclist and then 3 years later they're racing. Like, it is just an amazing journey, and they turn their lives around, and they come up to you and say, oh, I owe it all to the brand. But it's like, it's a pretty powerful thing. And now, lucky enough, I get to try and lead a brand to do the same thing. So with Two Times You in an Australian brand and well known for our compression, we're trying to really start to give the brand a bigger purpose about creating a platform per se for people to chase their finish lines no matter what it is. So not just in a race or in a sort of an event, but it might just be the fact that you want to get up 2 or 3 times a week to go for a walk around the block and just increase your level of activity. And I think nothing more than the last 6 or 7 months in this world, we've seen the vital importance of staying active. And I think to be able to be in a brand and a company that has that opportunity is pretty amazing.
And you mentioned many times community.
Yeah.
Obviously, cricket and soccer is more like a team sports, but triathlon is like you're on your own, but you still talk about community. And I have a lot of friends or listeners who say, but as a runner or a triathlete, you are on your own. But you said it, if you have the community behind you, this is such a strong bond that you have. And then you have, when you have been a running coach, some people come to me and they say, I hear your voice in my head, like, keep going, or you can do this, or you're strong. This is that community that builds the support for the person, even if it's an individual sport, right? What can we learn from that? I mean, in terms of leadership or in terms of sport?
It's exactly right. And I think I was thinking about that before we got on. When you're in a team sport, you're exactly right. You've got your team around you. You've sort of got that inbuilt community there. But when you move to these more solo sports, like whether you join a tri club or whether you join a running club, it's still you. It's down to you on that day. And for me, that community is, I go and watch events, whether it be, Kona or major races. And it's the fact that the community is there supporting everyone racing that day. And I think that's the big thing. There's no team versus team. Of course, they're there probably to support their immediate family or immediate club that they're supporting, but everyone is just cheering everyone. And I think that's that sense of community. And I think from a leadership or business standpoint, that really opens up that sort of approach of being a bit more inclusive and looking at, like, we've got many businesses sort of take the approach of target markets, but, in the end, as a sports business, you just want everyone to be more active. You just want everyone to sort of have fun, because at the end of the day, when we start out in sports, it's all about having fun. Of course, triathlon is a sport that sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's very hard and not that fun. But I think from a community aspect, it sort of teaches you the fact that sometimes the race is sort of bigger than you. Like, you're not the most important person. Someone might be facing a different hardship, or everyone, individually is having their own battle, but you're all out there trying to accomplish the same goal. And I think as a business, that's the same thing. We all go through our different teams, have different sort of barriers they need to overcome. But at the end, you're all there for the same goal. And I think that's, aside from the fact of resilience, strength, and sort of having those goals to attain for from a triathlon training standpoint, I think that sense of community and team building is pretty vital, especially, I think, as you progress in your professional career. I think you become much more, I don't want to say lonely, but you do. As you move up that corporate ladder, you find yourself probably more alone. You don't have that support network of your immediate peers, and it's much similar to solo sports. Like, you've got a team around you, but at the end of the day, it's just you. So, learning how to sort of take a step back and look at the bigger picture and realize that sort of everyone is going through those same struggles. We all have the same goal, and just sort of bringing that sort of wider lens to it is pretty important.
You hit many great points, right? And I always felt like when you tell people, like, you've done an Ironman, they're focused on that one day. Yeah. But basically, you trained the whole year up to that event, and it's about that sport. I mean, I had all my friends helping me, running, biking, swimming. Yeah. I mostly did by myself, but even though you team up with somebody, go swim, it's that teaming up, that spirit of community, and it empowers you. And then when we talk about leadership, it's a little sad, right? So when you're the CMO, there's only one CMO and maybe one CFO. I remember once I spoke to a person and I said to them, how many COOs are in your company? And he's like, duh, there's only one. I'm like, that's exactly what it is. At that C-suite level, it's very lonely. So I'm wondering if the sports can help you, and maybe you have some tips for the listeners. Crave the support from the team, but then you have to be a solo performer as the CMO or whatever your level is in the organization.
Yeah, definitely, and I think I look back to Ironman training, and it's a pretty lonely existence, as you know. Like it's great when someone says, "Oh, I can come for a run with you," because you're just craving that sort of person to push you. And there might be a session where you're just going, "Oh no, I have to run again," and it's up to yourself again to get out the door. But as soon as you involve someone else, you've got that accountability. And I think that's a big thing. And I think, as a leader, as a CMO, you want your team to hold you accountable. And I think that's one of the big things is creating an environment where they feel open to hold you accountable. And leadership's about setting a directions, but it's also about, being open to feedback from your peers, your colleagues, and your team under you. And I think if you create the environment where they can hold you accountable, they feel more accountable as well. And I think that's where you start to accomplish great things. And I think the same goes for your Ironman training. You coach your peers, your training team members hold you accountable. It's something that you wake up in the morning when that alarm goes off and you go, well, no one's going to know the difference if I don't train. Well, yeah, they will. That's the same thing with work. It's like if I don't get this reporting on time or don't make one-on-one time with my team to catch up, that there's no connection there. There's no trust. It's a two-way street. And I think that's how you reduce that sense of being alone, whether it be training for an Ironman or any endurance sport or being at the C-suite is really opening yourself up to connections. And it might be the fact that I know a lot of triathletes they go through a phase of training by themselves because they just think, oh, it's easier. And then you lose that initial motivation of going, I can't just do it myself again. And you join a running group, and then it's just being open to that. And I think that's predominantly triathletes are probably introverts. They might sort of be a little bit more, they enjoy time by themselves. They enjoy time in their own heads. That's just a natural thing. But you've got to open yourselves up and sort of try to create those connections, because that will allow you to grow and allow you to, I guess, sort of self-assessment as well as another a big thing. And as, again, take that step back and really look at yourself from a leadership standpoint, going, am I doing everything I can to create an environment that people are going to succeed in? And then from a personal level, am I doing everything I can for myself to enable me to be as successful as I can, whether that be a professional or personal standpoint? For me, the big thing is creating that environment, whether it be professional or personal, where people feel comfortable in giving feedback back and forth. And I think that's all you can do. And I think that comes in a team environment quite naturally. But when you get to that more hierarchical and traditional structure, it's not always there.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's interesting, like with feedback, right? In sports, you have the coach, you get feedback and you're like, wow, this is good. This is cool. You get faster, you get stronger.
Yeah.
But then sometimes in the business, when you give feedback or provide feedback, people are like, oh no, I don't like it so much. I think there we also see the parallels. And you said like triathletes tend to be more introverted. And I also see that there's a lot of C-suite people in the triathlon world, and maybe because they are more comfortable being alone, because it takes many hours to train and also when the day comes. So very interesting. Yeah.
The feedback one is really interesting. Like, I don't know what happens to, as you said, we're so comfortable getting feedback from a sporting or performance standpoint when it comes to sport. But then when it comes to work, we always the barriers go up. It's just like, and it's just like, well, how are we meant to progress? How are we meant to grow? Like, no one's, I'm sure even those that have been at the CEO level for many years will admit that they've got flaws. And it's just like, it's opening yourself up to the fact that we can always improve. Like, it's a constant journey, whether it be professional or personal. Like, it's always a constant journey of improvement. And I think that's that self-awareness.
Thank you so much, Luke. What an inspiration. What are you taking away from Luke? 2XU. Check out their website. They have fantastic merchandise. I love it. So take it from the Iron Woman. We have episodes every Monday, every Wednesday. And don't forget to order Get Loopy. GetLoopy.com is the plant-based snack. We need a lot of proteins when you are doing the endurance sports. And Take It from the Iron Woman is also a book. Get it on Amazon as a paperback or an ebook.